Most people celebrate the end of the year in January, but for the Celts, it was on Halloween. On the night of the 31st of October, the year ends. The light half is finished and the dark half begins. They say that on this night, the veil between our world and the other world is at its thinnest. For over 2,000 years, people have celebrated by lighting fires on hilltops and hosting feasts for the dead. When the veil is thin, it is said that the living and the dead can meet. But this festival was not originally about fear or horror. It was about respect and preparation. Predominantly, it was a time to test the weather for winter. It was the church who renamed Samhain to Halloween. The church originally had an All Saints' Day, but it was in May. They moved it strategically to absorb Samhain observances. In medieval Ireland and Britain, people would not give up their Samhain traditions. So during early Christianity, the bonfires continued, but they were now called holy fires. This is the first video in my Samhain series. We are starting with the Cailleach, or the Old Woman of Winter. Her name means the Veiled One. In Old Irish myth, she is the giant woman of winter, and she drops stones from her apron, and that's what creates the mountains. She rules from the 31st of October to the 1st of May. Winter is hers. She might send cold, she might send frost, she might send storms, and she does not ask you for permission. Even the king needs her permission. She is said to carry a staff that freezes the ground. When she strikes the earth, frost spreads. Her skin is said to be blue or grey, and her hair is white as waves. She wakes on Samhain. There is a story from the 12th century that is preserved in the Book of Leinster. The primary text, but basically, An Cailleach is a shapeshifter. She can appear as a fair maiden or an old crone. In this story, the king of Tara, Óchid Mognaduin, has 5 sons, and when he dies, they argue over who should inherit the throne. To settle this, their foster father, the druid Torna, sends them on a simple task. Bring back water from the well of Conla. In Irish myth, a well is sacred ground and it is often guarded by a spirit woman or goddess. But the boys don't know this. They think it's just a symbolic test. When they arrive at the well, they see a woman with blackened teeth and twisted limbs. It says she has rough skin like a withered apple, and she demands a kiss in return for the water. Each of the first 4 brothers recoil. They refuse to kiss her, and she refuses to give them water. Then Niall, the youngest, approaches. He doesn't hesitate. He greets her kindly, embraces her, and kisses her on the mouth. And immediately, she transforms. Her skin smooths out, her eyes start to shine, and she becomes a woman of great beauty. She says, I am Flachas Éireann, the sovereignty of Ireland. You have seen me in my true form and accepted me for who I am. Therefore, you shall be king, and from your line, kings shall rule forever. Then the water starts to flow freely. Niall brings back the water, and from that day, he is known as Níl na Gaelach, the legendary founder of the O'Neill dynasty. The story of the Cailleach expresses a cosmic principle of Irish kingship. The land, or Bonla, sovereignty woman, chooses the rightful ruler through a ritual union. The old crone is a symbol of the land in winter, barren, and the spring maiden, or Bríde, is the spring. It's a renewal, it's fertile. When Niall embraces the Cailleach, she becomes young again. That change shows how the land will renew itself when it's respected, not exploited. She says, I am the sovereignty of Ireland. That means she is the right of the land to choose who rules it. A man who does not honour the land cannot rule it. The ruler depends on the land, and the land demands respect. Her transformation also mirrors the seasons. The old woman of winter becomes the young woman of spring. The world dies and then wakes again. The lesson here is simple. Power is not taken, it is given, and it demands respect. If the land is not respected, it withdraws and goes barren. Samhain asks us the same thing. Can you look at the dark and not turn away? Can you respect it? If you can, then the winter becomes about rest and reconnection. When we light fires at Samhain, we're still doing what people did 2,000 years ago, marking the handover between the light and the dark and remembering that everything alive owes the land its respect.